Welcome to Dark Echoes podcast. In tonight's episode, we'll journey to the edge of an abandoned alley in Semarang, Indonesia, to a rental house marked by loss, silence, and an unsettling presence that still lingers in the dark. This is a true account of a haunting that no explanation could ever fully erase. So put on your headphones, turn off the lights, and listen carefully, because some stories are never truly forgotten. In 2015, I was going through a difficult period of transition between jobs. Financial constraints forced me to look for a rental house with very low rent. An acquaintance introduced me to a property owner who had an old house on the outskirts of Semarang. The house was located at the end of a narrow dead-end alley, surrounded by several other unoccupied houses. From the outside, it looked simple and neglected. The paint had peeled off, the door panels had turned black from dampness, and the iron gate leaned precariously, partially rusted. When I first visited the location to survey it, I immediately sensed something unsettling. Even during the daytime, the house felt unnaturally quiet. There were no bird sounds or any sign of life from the neighbors. Despite my unease, the extremely low rent convinced me to take it. Before officially moving in, I tried to find out a little more about the history of the building. An elder in the neighborhood told me the house had been built in the late 1970s by a furniture businessman. The original owner passed away suddenly from a heart attack in the living room. After his death, the house was inherited by his son, who only occupied it briefly before deciding to sell it. In the early 2000s, the house changed hands several times. One of the owners turned it into a boarding house, but most tenants left long before their lease expired. The reasons they gave were all similar: strange noises at night, a pungent smell with no clear source, and an oppressive atmosphere. The most tragic event happened around 2013, when a young married couple rented the house. They had been recently married. The wife was reportedly suffering from severe depression after several miscarriages. One night, she was found dead, having hanged herself inside the bedroom wardrobe. After that incident, her husband abandoned the house, leaving most of their belongings behind. The property remained empty for nearly 2 years. Despite knowing this history, I tried to remain rational. I told myself it was all in the past and had no bearing on my life. But my perspective changed almost immediately after moving in. I spent my first day in the house cleaning thick layers of dust and cobwebs. Parts of the kitchen and bedroom walls had turned dark from dampness. There was also a back storage room whose door was locked. I didn't bother trying to open it. On the first night, the strangeness became palpable. As soon as I turned off the bedroom lights, I had the overwhelming feeling that something was standing in the corner, watching me. I turned on the small night lamp, but sleep did not come easily. The second night, the disturbances escalated. Around 1 a.m., I was awakened by the sound of slow, dragging footsteps moving down the hallway in front of my room. At first, I thought it was a burglar. I checked every part of the house. All doors and windows were still locked from the inside. The footsteps returned several times that night, stopping each time I tried to trace them. On the third night, things grew more sinister. While I was cooking in the kitchen, an overwhelming metallic stench suddenly filled the air. It was the unmistakable smell of stale blood. I searched the drains, the sink, and the walls, but found nothing. That same night, around 2 a.m., I woke up to the sound of a woman sobbing inside my wardrobe. The crying was soft but distinct, filled with a sorrow that made my hair stand on end. When I opened the wardrobe doors, it was empty, but the sobbing continued, as if coming from behind the walls. Then the bedroom lights flickered rapidly before going out completely. In the darkness, the temperature in the room dropped abruptly. As my eyes adjusted, I saw the silhouette of a woman standing by my bed. Her long hair hung over her face, her clothes were wrinkled, and her posture slightly hunched. She was motionless, but her presence sent a primal fear through my body. I backed slowly away, groping for the light switch. When the lights finally came back on, the figure was gone, though the smell of blood still hung heavy in the air. The next morning, I decided to talk to one of the longtime residents living near the alley. He confirmed everything I had heard. Locals referred to it as the House of Death, as two people had died there first, the original owner, who died suddenly in the living room, and later the young woman who had hanged herself in the wardrobe of the master bedroom. Over the years, tenants reported the same phenomena: dragging footsteps, the smell of blood, and the vision of a long-haired woman in the dark. After the last tragedy, the house became nearly impossible to rent out, forcing the owner to drop the rent to half of the usual rate. Realizing the history was more than superstition, I knew I couldn't stay another night. That same afternoon, I packed only my essential belongings and left everything else behind. I returned the keys to the property owner without explaining much. Since walking away from that alley, I have never gone back. To this day, the experience remains the most terrifying chapter of my life. Even now, when I remember the sound of that sobbing in the wardrobe or the figure by my bed, I feel the same cold dread crawling up my spinal cord that no logic has ever been able to dispel. Thank you for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed this story or felt the chills down your spine, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with someone who dares to hear it. Until next time, remember, some places never let go of their past, and sometimes it's not what you see that haunts you, but what you feel when you're alone in the dark.